Two chairs, one glass table, no audience to charm, no applause to lean on, just cameras, humming, and two people with very different ideas about honesty. He came with questions. She came with a smile sharpened like a blade. For the first 10 minutes, they danced. In the next 30, they sparred. And by the end, only one chair was still warm. The set of What Now looked like a boutique therapist's office stripped of comfort, cool neutrals, soft lighting, a suspended mic that cut a halo of silence around the table. Trevor Noah arrived early, as he always did, sleeves rolled, humor arranged like the tidy stack of note cards in front of him. He'd lobbied to keep this iteration of his show intimate, a conversation, not a circus. Two chairs, no band, no studio audience gasping or groaning to referee the moment. Just questions and a chance, if the guest wanted it, for clarity. Meghan Markle came in at an unhurried tempo, trailing the scent of well-managed schedules in absolute certainty. Her blazer was immaculate, so was her posture. She shook Trevor's hand as if it were a ceremonial step, smiled as a camera assistant placed her mic, and then glanced at the bare risers where an audience might have been. For a second, her smile dimmed, then brightened, brighter than necessary. "Cozy," she said, taking her seat. "Very grown up." Trevor's mouth flickered with a grin. "I like that. Grown-up television. We should put that on a mug." The red tally light blinked on. The theme sting faded. Trevor looked straight into camera one and did what he did best. Set the table with warmth stitched to wit. "Good evening. Tonight on What Now? A conversation. No spin, no crowd, no escape hatches. I'm joined by an actor, producer, podcaster, a person whose name has lived in headlines longer than most of us have lived in apartments. Meghan Markle." "Meghan, welcome, thank you," she said. "It's nice to be somewhere that doesn't turn everything into a spectacle." Trevor nodded slow. "That's exactly the idea. Just us, some tea, and the truth, however it shows up." She gave him a look that could have been agreement or a warning. "Truth is subjective, Trevor, but I'm sure we'll get along." He accepted the feint with a gentle smile. "I've found truth is less subjective than our feelings about it." He turned a note card with a fingertip. "Let's start easy. How are you, actually? Not brand, not headlines. You happy," she said, and took a measured sip of water. "Grounded, focused on my family. You know, real things, not noise." "That's good to hear." He leaned back, hands open. "The noise exists for a reason, though. People are curious. You've been both a protagonist and a prism. Everyone sees what they want to see. What's the one thing you wish people would stop assuming?" "That I'm a story to be consumed," she replied, not unkindly. "I'm not a parable or a cautionary tale. I'm a person who made choices, and I'm very good at seeing through questions that come disguised as compassion." Trevor chuckled softly. "I promise, no compassion traps on my desk. We check the legs. I've learned to check for myself," she said, settling deeper into the chair. He let that land and moved on. "You've spoken about peace, finding it, which is remarkable considering you have two of the most famous toddlers on Earth, a marriage in the glare of 1,000 lenses, projects people try to guess from your coffee orders. How is that peace built?" "By saying no a lot," she said. "By living in Montecito, where the fog is friendlier than paparazzi. By choosing my circle," her smile sharpened by a degree. "And by remembering I don't owe anyone anything." "Even interviews?" She tilted her head. "I'm here because I chose to be, Trevor." "And I'm delighted," he said quickly, palms up. "Consent is sexy." Megan's laugh was quick and pretty, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You see? That's dangerous. You make a joke, and people mistake you for harmless." "Ah," he said, grinning. "I'm like a raccoon with a lockpick." "More like a raccoon with a podcast." They both laughed. The air looked lighter on camera, but on the table between them, a hairline crack formed. "Let me ask about family," Trevor said, voice easing into sincerity. "Not the institution, the humans. How is Harry?" There it was, the first test balloon. Meghan didn't flinch. "He's wonderful. Kind. The man people think they know, but better in real life. We don't live by rumors. We have a home. Our kids are thriving. We're happy. Extremely, I'm glad. He paused, allowing the kindness to be real before he continued. The reason I ask is the headlines. Yes, the headlines, she cut in, the smile firming. People who don't know us trying to narrate us. It's entertaining, I suppose, if you enjoy fiction. I do enjoy fiction, Trevor said lightly, but I also like context. He tapped the edge of a card. There were reports, again, I know, reports that suggested strain. Lots of couples experience this, royal or not. Did any of those resonate, or were they total, how do I say this nicely, rubbish? Rubbish is good, Meghan said, relieved to have the word provided. And to be clear, it's not your asking that's the problem. It's the framing that people try to force us into. We're not a public utility. We don't have to confirm or deny every fever dream. Trevor spread his hands. I hear you. Truly, I'm not asking you to file a utility bill. I'm asking if there's anything you want to say to the people who are invested in your marriage for whatever complicated human reasons they are. I'd say stop being invested. Invest in yourself, she replied, with a brightness that concealed an edge. We're fine. He nodded once, as if logging it. Noted, we're fine. It'll be the pull quote next to a photo of you blinking. That's how it works, she said, a little sing-song. Trevor let the moment breathe. Then, the Queen's passing changed an era. No matter how one feels about monarchy, that's true. Did it shift anything inside you? Grief, reconciliation, perspective? Meghan's lips thinned for a fraction. It reminded me that people love myth. Monarchies are built on it. So are celebrity ecosystems. Everyone wants a role to play. Mourner, critic, heir, exile. I chose mine, which is mother, wife, creator. Someone who doesn't need the approval of institutions that were never built for me. He watched her carefully, his humor resting on the shelf while she spoke. Do you feel the same about the people in those institutions? Individuals, I mean, Kate, William, do you talk? Meghan tilted her chin, eyes steady. I talk to who I need to talk to when I need to talk to them. I don't schedule conversations because strangers would find it satisfying. That's fair, he said, a little laugh returning as a cushion. I barely schedule conversations with my dentist. You should schedule that, she said dryly. Teeth matter on camera. Public service announcement, he nodded, tapping an invisible sign. Okay, America. You hinted Montecito fog is friendlier than paparazzi. How is life stateside? From a human dignity standpoint, she flashed that brilliant, polished smile. Infinitely better. From a who is shouting near my door standpoint, still noisy. But the sun is warmer, the community is kinder, the opportunities are expansive, and not defined by someone else's bloodline. Spoken like an immigrant's granddaughter, he teased. Spoken like a woman who learned not to wait for permission, she countered. Trevor adjusted in his chair, the rhythm now unmistakable. His inquiry, her parry. You were an actor before all of this. Suits, projects since. People keep asking, will you act again? Meghan's smile cooled. People keep asking because people are nosy. If I do, it will be because it serves something worth doing, not because someone misses seeing me in a pencil skirt. Trevor lifted his hands in surrender. I love the pencil skirts personally, but noted art with purpose, art with boundaries, she corrected, which, by the way, journalism could borrow. Ouch, he said, laughing softly. I'll invoice my profession for therapy, but I'll add, this show is a boundary respecter. I ask, you decline, we proceed. It's not an interrogation. It never starts as one, she said, voice like cool glass. It just becomes one, slowly. With velvet gloves, he nodded, accepting the observation with visible grace. All right, how about this? What do you wish I would ask that no one does? She studied him, and now there was unmistakable calculation. Ask me what I'm building. What are you building? A life where my children won't believe a crowd gets to decide who they are, she said, and for a moment the armor cracked and a human pulse showed through. Work that reflects that. Media that doesn't treat compassion as branding, Stories that don't ask women to bleed to be believed. Trevor leaned in, voice low and sincere. That is a beautiful answer. He waited, then let the humor return like a soft chime. Unfortunately, the internet prefers chaos to beauty. The internet prefers a dog chasing a drone, she replied. We're not required to perform. True, he said, but you're here, which means you know performance has its uses. Meghan smiled again, dazzling and dangerous. I know control has its uses. The cameras drank the line. The room felt smaller. Trevor glanced at his cards, then put them aside. We'll take a short break, he said to camera one, the professional cadence back. When we return, more with Meghan Markle about creation, boundaries, and why I should schedule my dentist. The tally light dimmed, a producer slid in to repowder Meghan's cheekbone. Another brought fresh water. For a beat, there was no music, just the muffled shuffle of a team pretending to be invisible. Trevor turned slightly, voice dropped. You okay? I'm always okay, she said, not looking at him. You know I'm not here to catch you out, he added gently. Meghan's eyes lifted, and she gave him a smile so flawless it almost counted as armor. Trevor, everyone says that. Then they asked the question they wanted to ask all along. He held the smile, a practiced diplomat. Maybe tonight we both do something different. She lifted her glass. Maybe. The tally light blinked red again. The dance resumed, a little faster now, the music unheard but unmistakable. The break ended, lights steadied, and Trevor adjusted his cuff as the tally light blinked red again. We're back with Meghan Markle, he said smoothly, talking about life, legacy, and why my dentist will thank her. His tone was easy, a rope of humor tossed across the table. Meghan smiled, polished as marble. Glad to be back, she said. It's always refreshing when an interviewer doesn't hide behind gossip. Trevor chuckled. That's my secret. No gossip, just curiosity. Curiosity can be nosy, she quipped, tilting her head. But I'm sure yours is pure. He laughed again, but there was a glint of something behind his eyes now. I try to keep it balanced. So, let's talk work. There's been talk about new projects. Are you producing, acting, writing? I'm creating, she corrected. Labels are for people who need categories. I'm focused on telling meaningful stories, not just entertainment. Fair enough, he said, nodding. Still, people loved you in Suits. You had a global fan base before Buckingham Palace. Do you ever miss that version of life, minding sets, call times? Her smile turned knowing. Miss it? I've evolved. You don't miss a stage when you've built a platform, Trevor grinned. That's a quote right there. You don't miss a stage when you've built a platform. You should trademark that. Oh, I already have, she said, half joking, half dead serious. He laughed politely, but she didn't join in. Okay, he said, tone softening. So, no acting comeback then? Trevor, she sighed over ye. Why does everyone ask that? Is it that hard to imagine a woman being content off camera? Not at all, he said quickly. Just wondering if you miss storytelling. I tell stories every day, she interrupted. Only now I control the narrative. Touché, he said with a smile. You're very good at that. Practice, she replied simply. Trevor leaned back. Let's touch on something people still debate. Your relationship with the royal family. You've spoken before about independence, but do you feel any part of you misses them? The tradition, the connection? Meghan took a breath that sounded almost theatrical. You mean, do I miss being judged for existing? No, Trevor, I don't. He lifted a hand, careful. I mean family. The human part of it. Kate, William. Her smile froze, perfectly shaped but suddenly cold. You love bringing up their names, don't you? It's almost like there's an invisible script telling you to. Trevor blinked. There's no script, Meghan. It's just conversation. Sure, she said, leaning forward, but conversation framed by expectation. Everyone wants the reunion photo, the handshake, the tears. I'm not giving them that movie. He met her gaze evenly. I respect that. But you also know people are fascinated by closure. Closure is overrated, she said curtly. You don't need to hug the past to heal from it. Trevor smiled faintly. Another quote, you're on a roll tonight, or maybe I'm just tired of being poked. He lifted both hands. No poking, I promise. Only curiosity, pure harmless curiosity. Right, she said, crossing one leg over the other. Until you ask about Kate again. He exhaled a laugh. Okay, I'll resist temptation. A beat passed. Trevor shuffled his cards, then picked one. Let's pivot. How has America been treating you? Her tone brightened, but not warmly. Beautifully. It's liberating to live somewhere that values individuality. In America, you can build your own crown instead of inheriting one. Trevor nodded, amused. That's poetic. Though to be fair, you're in California. Crowns there usually have rhinestones and reality TV contracts. She smirked. Better that than invisible rules and polite oppression. He raised his brows. Spicy. But fair point. You seem to prefer life where you can design your own narrative. Of course. Why would I trade freedom for formality? She said. I can do more good from Montecito than I ever could from a palace hallway. Trevor smiled thoughtfully. You make it sound like a revolution. Maybe it is, she said. A revolution of peace. One I lead quietly. He chuckled softly. Quietly is an interesting word for someone trending daily. Her smile sharpened. That's not my doing. People project. I can't control their obsession. Maybe not, Trevor said, but you certainly know how to use it. The words hung in the air. Megan's eyes narrowed just slightly. What's that supposed to mean? Just that you're good at staying visible, which honestly is impressive. You turn storms into spotlights. Her voice cooled. You make it sound manipulative. I said impressive, he countered gently. Silence stretched. Megan shifted in her chair, folding her hands. You know, Trevor, men love calling women strategic when they mean smart. Trevor smiled patiently. I call smart people smart. Good. Then call me smart, she said, the tone bordering on command. He chuckled softly. You're very smart, Megan. She smiled, satisfied as though she'd won a round. Thank you. Trevor leaned back, studying her expression, the subtle pride, the hint of triumph. You know, he said lightly, I think people watching this will finally understand something about you. Oh, she said. And what's that? That you don't come to play, he said with a grin. You come to win. Only because the alternative is losing control, she replied. He nodded slowly. Fair enough. The air had changed, thin, electric. What started as charm was now a quiet duel of tone and subtext. Trevor flipped to another card, his voice calm but firmer now. One last thing before our next break, he said. You've said repeatedly you're focused on family. How do you balance privacy with public advocacy? I set boundaries, she said crisply. People can speculate, but they can't dictate. I'm not living for tabloids. Of course, he said, but your projects, podcasts, interviews, they keep you in the public sphere. That's not exactly privacy. Her eyes flashed. It's controlled visibility, Trevor. There's a difference. I decide what's shared. That's called empowerment. He held her gaze unflinching. Empowerment's great, but sometimes it looks a lot like performance. Her lips parted slightly, caught between disbelief and irritation. Excuse me? Trevor smiled faintly, his voice calm. You perform power very well. I mean that as a compliment. She stared at him a beat too long, then smiled, tight, rehearsed. Compliments sound strange when they're backhanded. The tally light flicked off, another break, but the tension didn't. Megan looked away first, exhaling through her nose. Trevor tapped his pen softly on the table, gaze steady. Still good? She turned back, smiling like a queen on the verge of war. Perfectly. When the cameras came back on, the tension in the room had become its own character. Silent, visible, alive. Trevor's tone was light again, but there was a new weight behind it, as if he'd decided that polite dancing was done. Welcome back to What Now, he said smoothly. We've been talking about identity, family, and freedom with Meghan Markle. Let's finish strong. Meghan smiled, but her eyes were unreadable. Finish strong, she said, her tone half playful, half challenging. Trevor nodded. So let's do that. We talked about how you define your life on your own terms now, but do you ever think about what might have been if you'd stayed, played the game differently? Her smile faltered slightly. The only game I play is chess, Trevor. And I'm very good at seeing the board. He grinned. So, that's the diplomat in you talking. Or maybe the survivor, she replied sharply. You learn how to read people when everyone wants a piece of you. Trevor tilted his head. Even interviewers? Especially interviewers, she said with a knowing smirk. The air thinned again. Trevor set his note cards aside deliberately. You know, I think that's part of what fascinates people about you. You talk like everyone's out to get you, but you're the one who walked away. You won, I didn't win, Trevor, she said coldly. I chose peace. There's a difference. Of course, he said gently, but peace and control, sometimes they look alike. Don't you think? She laughed quietly, but there was no warmth in it. You really want to make this about control, don't you? Is it that hard for you to imagine a woman setting boundaries without being labeled controlling? Trevor leaned forward slightly, elbows on the table. I can imagine it perfectly. I just think you confuse being in control with being above consequence. Meghan blinked. For the first time, her poise wavered. That's a very male way of framing it. He smiled thinly. It's a human way of framing it. You've built a platform on authenticity, but it feels like every question you don't like becomes an attack. That's because most of them are, she snapped. You all come with your polite traps, your little curious digs, and then act surprised when I don't fall into them smiling. Trevor's voice stayed even. No traps, Meghan. Just questions. But the way you treat everyone like an enemy, maybe that's part of why people struggle to connect with you. Her jaw tightened. I don't need them to connect with me. That's exactly what I mean, he said softly. You talk about empathy, kindness, compassion, but you radiate disdain. You don't talk with people. You talk at them. She leaned back, offended. Excuse me? He didn't flinch. You've built walls so high that even good faith feels like intrusion. You call it boundaries, but it's arrogance wearing empathy's clothes. The silence that followed was heavy enough to hum through the microphones. Meghan let out a small, incredulous laugh. Wow, so this is what it was all leading to. The polite host finally takes his shot. Trevor shook his head. No shots. Just honesty. You came here asking for respect, but you've spent the whole hour mocking it. You act like every question is beneath you. Like everyone else is playing checkers while you're playing 4D chess. It's exhausting. Her face hardened, her voice dropping to a whisper. You know nothing about what I've endured. And I'm not minimizing that, Trevor said. But pain doesn't give you a pass to treat everyone like villains. You're not the only person who's been misunderstood. Spare me the lecture, she said, standing abruptly. The mic wire tugged as she moved. You wanted your viral clip? Congratulations, you got it. Trevor stayed seated, calm as ever. Meghan, sit down. I'm not your enemy. She turned halfway toward him, fury and pride burning together behind her composure. No, Trevor, you're just another man pretending his curiosity isn't condescension. He sighed. And you're another guest who mistakes disagreement for disrespect. For a long second, no one spoke. The producers froze behind the glass. Meghan looked down at him, cool, composed again, but the storm was right behind her eyes. You know what the problem is with this whole setup? She said finally. You invite people here pretending it's a safe space. But what you really want is a headline, and I'm done giving them to you. Trevor nodded slowly. Maybe. But I think what you're really done with is hearing anything you can't control. That was it, the fuse. She unclipped her mic, set it carefully on the table, and gave him a faint smile that didn't reach her eyes. Good luck with your grown-up television, she said icily before walking off set. The cameras were still rolling when she left the frame, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. Trevor sat back, rubbing the bridge of his nose, a rueful half-smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. He looked straight into camera one. Well, he said quietly, that's one way to end a conversation. A pause, then with perfect comedic timing, note to self, schedule that dentist appointment. The tally light blinked off. The show was over. The table still held 2 glasses of water, one half empty, one untouched. And for a long moment, no one moved. Because everyone in that studio knew what just happened wasn't a talk show anymore. It was a collision. And there was no coming back from it. And that's how it ended. One of the most intense interviews What Now has ever seen. Trevor stayed calm, Meghan walked out, and the internet hasn't stopped talking since. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss our next dramatic showdown. Tell us in the comments, whose side are you on this time, Meghan or Trevor?